works, but more specifically, samskaras are those that we have in our subtle mind, these impressions. And what is there in the subtle mind represents in our gross mind, in our physical actions. Okay, so this is the deeper psychology of yoga. That every action that we do, we first experience it in our subtle mind, and then it manifests in our daily life as gross actions. So even thoughts, like even some things that we do, we first experience and enjoy them at the level of the mind. The thoughts themselves, you would actually notice this. The thoughts themselves create some, even without the object, you can enjoy the thoughts. So and then they manifest. We try to manifest them physically as well. So this is samskaras. So samskaras are impressions. They have been left behind. So now what happens is, in this, that which have create a negative state of mind for us, these are kleshas. So if you really look at it from these impressions that is left in our mind, there are these negative mental states that manifest. So we actually we become sometimes aware of these negative mental states, but the negative mental states have manifested from these samskaras, from that. So what are the negative mental states? He talks in a much more philosophical language. He says first is ignorance. So we discussed this. Ignorance is when we talk about ignorance, is it just saying that I don't know something? Like if I don't know about if I don't know some astronomy, or if I don't know some specific science, I don't know about neuroscience, or I don't know about like medical science or something. So then I'm ignorant of that. So that is one kind of ignorance. But the ignorance we refer to in our philosophical thing is not that kind of ignorance. It's that ignorance which makes us act in a way as though we know something. So you take it like this, that if the typical example given is, if I'm living in a in a pond, it's like a frog in a pond, who has never seen the ocean. So there's a frog that comes from the ocean, and it tells this frog in the pond, there's a big vast ocean out there. What are you doing here? It's just a small ocean, little pond you're staying in. So this frog says, no, it's not possible. There can't be anything more than that. So sometimes we also, like see here, you see some villagers in the mountains here. And, I think I gave this example. And then they have the small amusements and all that. So you go and tell them, there's this awesome big Disney world out there. There's a Disneyland. And there you have all these amusements, everything, So then they're not going to believe it. They're saying, no, this is all that there is. Of course, now there's all online apps and all that, but people see on social media. But before, these things were not available for people, so they would not believe that. So, but now what happens? This ignorance makes us act in a certain way. So what is the ignorance is that we feel that we are limited to our physical body. We feel we are limited to our specific thinking pattern, like our whatever we limit ourselves by, So this is where a yogi is trying to break free all that limitations. He's trying to break free from all his physical, mental, and even intellectual ideas. If I have certain ideas, about this is how the world is. So we should not this is what it is, when we really come to the point of understanding truth. The truth takes us beyond any specific fixation to any idea. So the highest level of knowing the truth is breaking free from even identifying and say, this idea is the ultimate truth. So that itself, that also has a certain limitation to that. But of course, it's good to start at a conceptual level, having some idea of some higher truths we grasp onto, which we ideally try to get from the yoga, the Vedas, and all that. We try to get that higher level of truth beyond what we can conceive. Okay. Okay. So that is the Kleshas. So he's talking about Kleshas, which we can translate it roughly as negative impressions or painful mental states. Okay, so now what is it that causes action? He talks about it. He talks about how karma and kleshas are related. He says the root of karma, meaning the root of all our actions, the root of everything that we experience has results of our actions. So karma includes everything, right? Like this body I've got is a result of past karma. This environment I'm in, it's a result of past karma. So all these are results of my past actions, whether in this life or in previous life. Now he says the root of what you have got, or all that you're going to get, the karma that you will face in your life, where do they originate? He says they originate from your kleshas, meaning your mental states. So this is where, like sometimes we hear these things that, mind is the creator of your world, or the world of your experience is created by the mind, so as you're thinking, so you manifest kind of thing. So it's a little deeper than this. It is not just as you're thinking, it is like the negative mental states that you carry. So what are the other mental states which we carry is he calls it as avidya, asmita, raga, dvesha, abhinivesha, right? Avidya meaning ignorance, we talked about it. Asmita, a lack of knowing who I truly am. Ego, you can say, in sense of egoic identity, a sense of wrong identity, you can say, rather than egoic identity of. So we identify with our thoughts, our emotions, and more importantly, we identify with the different instruments, our intellectual thinking and all that. So here, an example is if there is a car, that has been put together. So all the parts of the car, the wheels, the engine, the driver, the steering wheel, and everything, by themselves they don't have life. You need somebody to put that together first, and then you also need somebody who will turn on the ignition and drive it, isn't it? So this ability to be able to drive the vehicle is that life behind this, that person, that is essential. So now let's think of it this way: if there is a certain ability need to have someone who will drive that thing, then what is this thing? And this thing, he says, this is not the just that physical instrument. So it is not like when we look at a car, it is not just that Tata, whatever, or not that BMW or whatever car, that is, we say it is a car, but really what drives the car? It's the maker of the car, or it's the driver of the car. That is who gives life to the car, right? So there is a sentient element. There is a conscious element. There is somebody who has to be there to give it life. So what is this? This is the same thing in the body, right? So if somebody is dead, right, a body is dead, no matter whatever recent modern inventions we have, to put oxygen into that thing or stimulate the brain or whatever, that body will not come back to life. I mean, if that person is really dead, right? You can put, even if you put, they say it is actually said in the Vedic scriptures, a person who is dead, if you, even a drop of Ganga water or any water, if you put into that, it will not go down into his system because there's no life to process it, to do that. So this is this wrong identity we have, that we think this physical apparatus is what it is. And so as science says, it is science believes that the body is what gives um, uh, consciousness. Body leads to consciousness. I mean, this is the old science. Of course, nowadays science is also changing. But what the yoga and the Vedanta philosophy believe is that it is consciousness that gives rise to body. It is because that there is consciousness, the body manifests or the body sustains. At least we can think of it that the body is sustained because of consciousness. So this is asmita. Asmita is understanding, is a not having the right knowledge of who I am. I identify myself as this body, mind, thoughts, and all that. Okay, and then he talks about raga dvesha. We went quite in deep, in depth with that. Raga is that sense of strong attachment we have, and that causes attachment. That causes too strong sense of attachment to all these four things that he named. And also same with dvesha, meaning aversion. Aversion causes a sense of repulsion from things. Why do we get attracted to certain things, and why do we get averse to different things? And this is mainly because of our past experiences. If you really look at it, what causes attachment to something? What causes aversion from something? It's some impressions which has been left behind. If with some objects or some people we have had good impressions, then that sense of positive impressions causes us attraction. So ideally we say if you're attracted, also we should be attracted to spiritual things or things that are sattvic, because that kind of attraction is not that addictive in nature, and it helps to free you, rather than that which is rajasic and tamasic. That kind of attraction causes us pain, brings us pain. And this he explains in another sutra where he says that even that which is seemingly pleasurable, at the gross level, physical level, will bring you pain. So if we indulge in things, so we are used to thinking, right? Oh, this is exciting, this is cool, I want to do these kind of things and all that. So from a yogi's perspective, even that what is too exciting, that could be a cause of pain. Because the yogi's goal is not so much to have all exciting experiences. The yogi's goal is more to have experiences or to create your experiences, like to have that inner freedom, that you are not overly attached to something, nor you're overly repulsed from something. That is real freedom from a yogi perspective. Okay, and then the last one that he talks about, abhinivesha, which is fear of death. That is another kind of klesha. See, a lot of our life is ruled by the fear of death, right? And we have discussed that we constantly live in that sense that someday I'm going to physically die, and that at a physical level, it's okay because that helps to protect the body, but at the psychological level, this fear is what doesn't allow us to fully live life, even on a present day basis, And this is where most of also the insurance companies bank on, like our fear of death, So they kind of make us think more on those lines. So now one point to think about is kleshas. So when we think about kleshas, we shouldn't kind of think about them as just something that's happening now. So he says there are four kinds. The one is there is a dormant, there is a weak tendency klesha, there is something that comes intermittently, and something that's fully active. So say, for example, like some bad habit, right? Could be like some drugs or some alcohol or something and all that. We may not be indulging in them on a regular basis, but let's say you go to some party or some place where everybody thinks it's normal to have that, So that what was dormant in you that was okay in your life, it was not manifesting, suddenly it manifests again. Or let us say a weak one. Weak one means like something that is there, but you're not aware of it. It could be like road rage, an example for that. You are driving your car, something, and somebody comes and hits you or something, especially here in India, right? Suddenly you see someone bursting into anger, they fight on the streets. And so this is a weak tendency that suddenly manifests. And then there's intermittent tendencies, like some tendencies which we are not aware of, like someone who irritates us, bugs us, who brings out this anger in us, or negative tendencies in us, or gossiping, maybe some people we connect to, suddenly these tendencies intermittently they start coming. We are aware of it, but they come only in certain circumstances and certain people. And the last kind of klesha, which we have to now we may be aware, it's like something that's active, like our daily habits, eating junk food or wrong food, or or being mentally depressed or negative. So these are also certain kind of active kleshas. Okay, so these are different ways the kleshas manifest, and each one of us have to introspect for this, how they manifest and what it means to each one of us. Okay, so I'm just going to quickly summarize the rest, next topic, before we move on to the sutras, which is he's talking about how to overcome these kleshas. There are two main approaches that he gives of overcoming the kleshas, and one he says is, one is doing positive things. So obviously, right, like if you're doing negative things, then do positive things. Like if you are eating bad junk food, then eat healthy, helpful food. Okay, so this is positive opposite actions. But is that what he's really saying? No, from a yogic perspective, it's different. See, this is, then any psychologist will tell you this. They will just say, replace bad behavior with good behavior. This is a very common way of overcoming your habit loops or habit tendencies. You have certain bad habit which you think will give you happiness, then you replace it with good habits which will give you happiness. So here actually the good habits are not that direct. I mean, at least at that level. The good habits is engaging in like what you all are doing now. Okay, just listening to these talks that bring you new thoughts, uh, undertaking yoga or practices, meditation and other practices. What happens is these good habits create certain positive impressions at the subtle mind level. So at the subtle mind, these impressions are created and then they manifest into cross physical life. So you're thinking of these topics, or you're engaging in some pujas, practices, and all that will create positive impressions. Okay, so that is another way to look at it. Karma and the overcoming the negative actions by doing positive yoga practices. The other way is actually to undertake meditation. He says meditation is a very sure, confident way of overcoming all the negative approaches. Why? Because it goes to the root of where the samskaras are created. So the actions that was there, the actions that was in the subtle mind, they produce, they become the cause of all our these subtle impressions become the cause of our outward actions. So they are you free them by uprooting them through meditation. So in meditation, what happens? You reach a certain point of stillness, and in that point of stillness, instead of being driven by what is called as our habitual tendencies, samskaras, we create sankalpas, we create certain resolutions certain healthy kind of vows which we want to fulfill in our life. So they take power in your calm meditative mind, or you tune into what is better for you. You are out of this kleshas, that confused state of mind or negative state of mind of kleshas. You release yourself from that. So this is how he talks about it. Now, one more point also he made in this is that he talked about how these four different ways these kleshas are manifesting. Where he said, like, we are mistaking because of avidya, because of which is the root of all kleshas. So avidya is the root of all kleshas. Avidya meaning ignorance. Why is ignorance the root of all kleshas? Because avidya, ignorance makes you take yourself to be that what you're not, like what he calls as, if we are the atma or consciousness, we take ourselves to be anatma, or we take ourselves to be body, mind, intellect. We take what is inherently pain producing to be potentially what will give us happiness. Rather we take that which is short-term happiness to be give us a long-term happiness. Things that are inherently short-term in giving us happiness, we take to them as that is the reality. And then he said, what is impure? A lot of things are naturally impure. Meaning if your room, you need to constantly keep it clean. So this is the way nature is. Nature is inherently decaying as such, but we take it to be permanent. So that what is inherently impermanent, we take it to be permanent. Okay, so that is a summary so far. So that is one fundamental difference. See, kleshas are inherently negative. And also the thing is that what is negative here is that it is not just an impression. It is a certain mental state which we are carrying, which we don't think it's painful, but it is painful. We may not necessarily see it as painful. Like, for example, I told you about ignorance, right? It doesn't seem like ignorance is painful or misidentification. So I think I'm the Swamiji. I think I live here, or I have studied so much philosophy or whatever. So see, all this is I don't think it's a pain-producing thing at this point. But inherently they are pain producing. That is kleshas. Samskaras are impressions. But it is also true that samskaras create kleshas. Whatever impressions you have left in you, positive or negative, they can potentially cause kleshas. So what a yogi is trying to do is he's trying to free himself from all these kleshas. From all the kleshas to start with, but eventually from all samskaras. They say eventually when we become like a yogi, we are very spontaneous. We are not ruled so much by, except maybe for some things like brushing our teeth or other things, which we still need the habits to carry us. Most of the other things, it's spontaneous, like our life decisions. We are not bogged down by our past negative experiences. We are able to decide and act in a way we want to. We think that is good for us and for others. So he says in Patanjali Yoga Sutras, he's saying that karma that is yet to happen, that also can be mitigated, meaning that can be reduced by yoga or by doing your samskaras. How is that possible? Or is it possible at all? How many of you believe that's possible? A lot of all the Indian philosophies are built with this notion that karma is so strong. The effect of karma is a strong force in our life. We call it as prarabdha karma and all that. We can't change that. But there is a way to work with karma. How do we work with karma? Is that when these subtle impressions which are in our mind, the samskaras actually change. So as someone just typed out, if your samskaras have actually changed, So first thing is, as you just mentioned now, Rashmi, that you will not be able to you will not face that same effects of the karma. Like your ability to handle them will be better. Your attitude in handling them will be better, So that is a very, that we all can see that in our life. But there is a one more way karma does get mitigated, which is that these karmas, right, which are yet to take roots, they are actually in your carried forth through your samskaras. So if your samskaras are uprooted completely, like if you're completely uprooted that samskaras, then that karma doesn't have, you can say there is no landing space for that thing. It's like that flight is out there. It is supposed to land in wherever, in Bangalore or in London or somewhere. But let's say, like, they have eliminated that airport itself, or they have that is not accessible or something, that airport is not accessible, then the flight cannot land. So like that, sometimes, what happens is karma actually can, and this also is what grace does. What grace does is it uproots that thing where that karma will take root. But a real gnani doesn't mind about karma. A gnani will say, okay, let karma come, and then I'll just, as you mentioned, I will just face it through my attitude. Okay, whatever attitude is there, I will go through that.